Hooray! Finally got you on Talking Bollocks, Luke. Finally.
Yes, yeah, pleasure to be here, mate. Excellent.
It's been
So,
it's been a weird little journey
it
because
has.
for once I decided to do the bare minimum of research for such an important and esteemed guest. And what I did was I went back to try and find. I say that like it's some sort of mystery. It was quite easy, but I went back and found the very first message you sent me under the Tempashot account.
Oh, what?
Um,
Oh,
and
was that from Instagram?
yeah, yeah. And that was October the 4th, 2020.
Wow.
So just over
Lockdown. Well,
two
near
years ago.
lockdown.
Yeah. And I'm um this was your intro. Hi mate, hope you're well. Okay, so many years ago, I messaged Acid Rain on Facebook asking for advice on starting a thrash band. You actually replied and gave me a great, honest opinion on the first track we did. You also gave me a few tips on song structure. Fast forward to now, and after finally realizing the world doesn't need another thrash band sounding the same as all the rest, I finally got to the beginnings of a band going. So vocals were something we have a very vocals was something we wanted to really change, and we have a unique thrash approach to help stand out a bit from other bands. Now we have that in place. We're realizing that the vocal style can be technically allow us to do riffs, ideas that could usually wouldn't work with a normal singer. Good point. So far, the few songs we have are pretty much standard thrash as we were seeing if the vocals work. But now we hope it will lead to our own sound. Would love to hear your opinion. Many thanks. So there you go. That was you 2 years ago.
See what I did there? I had to drop in that I'd messaged you before. So then I hoping that would draw you in.
Yeah, no, look, absolutely right thing to do. Absolutely right thing to do. And if we did that in reverse and you read out my first message to you, I'd probably be embarrassed that I was my usual cocky self.
Yeah, to be fair, it's funny actually because I was reading that the other day on because you had that was when we were just in our previous band we had just sort of got something together.
Yeah.
And as you are, you've recorded a couple of no, we just recorded one song, and it was quite cocky. And it was like, oh yeah, this sounds quite good, blah blah blah. And then that was just when you guys had come back on the scene, and you had just dropped the video for was it
the New Low?
The name of the song.
It'd be
no, it wasn't the New Low. It was before.
Right.
It was before then. It was when you first sort of came back with the new lineup, and I think
right.
you
So
did
it's
a
Plan of
couple
the
of early
Damned.
songs. That's the one. Yeah, it was that. And
Yeah.
it's of course you were about everywhere, and I twigged on that. I kind of got this little because I was like, oh, that's the guys with the Pink album, which I knew from I've got a memory of from quite a while back. So I thought, oh, I'll give them a message and
yeah.
see. I mean, I didn't really think you would buy at the time. But of course you did, and yeah, you were rather honest about the track.
Rather honest about the track.
I think it went something like, what is it? It's a good effort. The vocals are beyond cheese. The riffs repeat themselves a little bit too much, and the drums kind of made it unlistenable for me because they were a programmed stock thing that was just barely. Right. But apart from that, yeah. But you did say a couple of points which I remember taking on board, which was arrangements are key, and you did kind of hint that you've kind of got to come with something a little bit more to make yourself stand out, which is kind of what I took away from that whole thing. But yeah.
Well, look, I hope it was half decent advice at the time, and I apologize if it wasn't. But you know, you've got to where you are now, and by the time everybody hears this, the album will be out. When is the album out?
It is the 27th of January.
Okay, so by the time everybody hears this, it might not already be out, or it might be out. It depends when this comes out.
Yeah, it'll be around that time.
Cool. Strange question. Are you proud of it?
Do you know what? I was thinking about this the other day, because I'm kind of one of those people who's a bit not so much a perfectionist, but they I'm proud of it from the aspect of we actually did it, and the ideas that I kind of had, and the vocal thing, whether it would work or not, you know.
Yeah.
It's sort of shown us like, oh, you know, there's stuff here there's stuff here that really works, so we can take this. And now, but I mean, proud of it. Okay, I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm proud of it in to a certain aspect.
Yeah,
But of
I
course
know what you mean.
now
Yeah.
I'm at that point where I listened back to the other day, which is always can be a difficult thing, because already you're starting to see things and thinking, oh, I wouldn't have said that, or if only we had just done this, or that delivery could have been better. But you just kind of have to think, well, no, but that's where we were.
But do you know what, mate?
That
Do you know what,
was
mate? That's never going to change. You know, that you've got people who've got 20 albums out that listen back to stuff on the most and they'll be like, oh, I should have done that. Oh, should
Yeah.
It's always going to happen. You know, I
It's
think
never done, is it? It's
yeah,
never done.
exactly. It's that famous quote, not mine, but that famous quote of no art is ever finished. It's just abandoned, you know, and that's, you know, that's true. There's always going to be things you change. But the reason I ask it as well is that you should be proud, you know. You know, when we first started talking, it you know, Tempashot was just this, like, you know, it was virtually a song, you know.
Well, that was it. That was the first
it was
demo
people
thing
from
that you
other bands, and you know, you were a collective basically.
Yeah.
And it was like-minded people getting together and going, like, poking the bear, you know, can this work? Can we actually, you know, make something out of this? And I think I think you have. And you've played shows, you've you know, you've done one of the most important things any band can do, put out decent merch. So you know, you have come a long way. But I also know how you feel, which is kind of like, oh, we've come a long way, but there's still a long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm proud to the respect that we actually got it done. That this silly idea. I mean, I look back when I first pitched it to some of the other guys, because none of them had ever knew I did vocals. I'd always kept that sort of, you know, that was behind me. That was something I did years ago.
So what were you doing?
Well, basically, when I moved to Ramsgate in the early 2000s. My parents moved down there with them. And that was still when there was a lot of pubs about, still virtually there. In every street, there was a little pub. And it was a different scene down there. And they were all into their sort of underground music. And every night, virtually every night, mainly your Thursdays, your Fridays, Saturdays, there's always a DJ on sort of, you know, your record decks. And they'd be just playing constant songs. And I got friends with a guy who was doing it. And one night he said, oh, do you want to be my hype man? Or something, just, yeah, have a drink and just announce some songs and talk like this. And then, so I started doing that. And then that just kind of grew. And you kind of ended up saying a few more bits. Oh, there's nothing going on here. So you just start making up little rhymes.
Yeah.
And then other people started doing it. And then, so then there was a kind of a bit of a competition-y sort of thing, because there'd be rivals. And then you started thinking, oh, he's every week he's got new lyrics. So I'm going to have to start writing stuff. And that's what it was. But it did give me the experience of sort of being out in that sort of a sort of spur of the moment scene, because because each song was being different tempos, you were kind of having to adapt on the spot, and that kind of, it helped a lot doing what I do now, because it's allowed me to be quite, I also I suppose, yeah, I'd say I felt quite confident being on a microphone. Even in the previous band, playing guitar, I was always that guy sitting there thinking, oh, I'd love to be with a microphone and up on the front of the stage. So it was always there.
Yeah.
But it was like, I sat there and I thought, what was all that for? Why did I do it? Why did that happen? I became quite good at it, you see, and I was doing it a lot during that period of time. I thought, what was that for? Was it just, you know, if I was good at that, why don't I try and bring that? But then you just think, I was just at the time, it's like, metal, is that going to work with metal? How's people going to sort of take that? I know you get rap in metal, but It's a stigma word. You say need to write, if we say to someone, oh, we're a rap metal band, it will put so many people off because they straight away think of a certain type of sound, but it's not. We're quite a lot different to what you would think is a rap metal band, if you know what I mean.
Urban metal, mate.
Urban metal. That's a way to put it, I suppose.
That's how that's how I would, if I was working for a record company and I was selling you guys into every corner of the world to other labels that are part of the company and all the rest of it, I'd be saying, UK's most prominent urban metal band. That gets around the rap metal thing, which is, let's face it, still got a stigma, but hints at, that sounds interesting. I might have to give that a listen. But anyway, look, I'm sorry, I'm hijacking your story there. But I like the fact, I really like the fact that you were kind of looking back on your own experience and going, what was that for? It's a very kind of unique, and again, this will sound cheesy, but it's an artist, it's an artiste, it's those moments of contemplation that inverted commas artists have, that those moments of self-introspection where you go, like, I'm good at something, there's a reason I'm good at it. How do I take what I'm good at and apply it in a way that is within the realm of what I do and my experiences? And for some people, that's go out and start painting, but you got this and you went, right, okay. So from that point, like, going, actually, could it work with how does it go from there?
That was very, I think, so that was there in the back of my mind, because it always used to come up. I used to think about it at rehearsal. Sometimes I'd always be tempted.
So you're playing guitar at this point?
Yeah, I'm still playing guitar.
So you're in a band, you're playing guitar and at rehearsals, but you're actually thinking, I could be at the front rapping over this.
Yeah, but that's the weird thing. And
it's great.
It was just always that little buzzing thing in the back of my head. And I know this might sound a little egotistical, but when we was in the band and we had our first singer in that band, it used to bug me when he was I used to sit there and say, he had wrote some lyrics, he's trying to get his head around some lines and how to say it and this and that, and it would always seem really plain and obvious to me. I'd be like, look, you just got to sing it like this or do this and do it. I could always see that, but yeah, so we was we was doing all right in the other band. We played a lot. We're lucky to do a European tour, which gave us experience of being on a day. This was one of those ones that was like 8 days in a row, and you had to go hop around the UK, then France and Germany, or Netherlands and Germany this day. So that quickly sobered everyone up, because we didn't handle it very well. Because by the time you're at the Amsterdam date, you're young, we had a good gig, and so what do we do now? We go out and 4 o'clock, get back in the morning, 6 o'clock, you've got to do a stupidly long drive to Germany, and that night's gig wasn't as good. But we all learned from that, and I think that's when we kind of split a little bit, because we kind of had to take a step back. There's a couple of people in the band at the time who's, this might not be for me now.
That's what touring does to you. Yeah. It sorts everybody out, sorts out levels of endurance, but sorts out levels of ambition as well.
Yeah.
And for some people, it is literally just like, oh, I thought this was going to be how I thought it was going to be in my head all these years. Turns out reality and what I thought was going to happen are two different things. Now, do you know what? I'll leave it. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's learning the balance of knowing when to stop enjoying it and make sure you get some sleep, and make sure you can't burn the candle at both ends.
The simple fact is that if you really want to, you can say, the minute you get to a venue, right, that's like when you go to work. Yeah. So when you go to work, is the first thing you do try and find somewhere that you can get away from everybody else and that has got a fridge full of beer? Probably not.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's kind of weird. I know exactly what you mean, because as a kid, you go on tour and you go, holiday with gigs, what could be better?
Yeah, exactly.
And then, but you only need to do it once to realize I'm going away to work for a week, 10 days, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely deadly, especially especially the German day, because they had the headline bands. I think Glamour of the Kill, their name was. We were completely different style band to them. We were playing sort of thrash, and they were all sort of new metal sort of stuff. But we came down in brilliant venue in Germany. I think it was Bochum, actually. The Matrix or something it was called.
Oh yeah. Well,
and all these tunnels.
Bochum is legendary. And anybody into thrash remembers the first time they saw Anthrax live in Bochum, Germany, and just went like, fucking hell, So yeah, get it, absolutely.
And they had laid on, that you come down into the eating room and there was 2 fridges, they were just stocked with beers, and they were just like, help yourself. Yeah. And that's just deadly, because you turn up and you're all excited anyway. It's like, oh yeah, we're living the life now. We're on the road, we're about to play a gig, but we just didn't know anything about pacing ourselves, anything about that. And we were, everyone, the final gigs did suffer. You could see the energy wasn't there anymore. Singer was feeling at that time.
Literally, the energy wasn't there anymore. Yeah. But the thing is as well is that, especially in Europe, it's like you run into that and you're like, wow, we're being treated like gods here. This is awesome. And apologies to everybody who's heard this story before. I'll just tell it very quickly, as I've told it on the podcast before. But first time we went to Europe, we got shown into a dressing room and we were like, whoa, they fucked up here. This isn't our dressing room. But anyway, doesn't matter. We ate as much food as we could. We got all of the beer, smuggled it onto the bus and put it into our fridge. And then management came around and went, oh, you've eaten all your food and drunk all your beer. That's a shame. Because we've only got a bit more beer left. And we were like, what do you mean ours? And we'd basically ransacked our own dressing room, stolen our own beer.
Great, that's classic.
But again, that is that mentality of being in the UK and getting a 4-pack of Coke for the entire band, and then you go into, and then next day you play in Belgium, and they've got a whole fucking buffet and 2 fridges for you, and you're like, yeah, that's not for us. Let's just fucking rob it, and while we get the chance,
rob your own bus. That's brilliant.
Yeah, but I know exactly what you mean. So that band, you get back, and it's a bit sort of, it's looking a bit dog-eared.
So this is where it gets interesting, because we were sort of we were thinking about, where do we go from here? We're at that point where I'm looking around. I was browsing YouTube. I'm doing some painting jobs in my house, paint stuff out. Put me play new wave of thrash playlist. I'm going to put one of them 3-4 hours. I'll put that on, see what bands are out. Couple of hours gone by, and I'm thinking, of course, this is a bloody long album. I look at the thing, and it's been like 40 something odd tracks. And I'm thinking, wow, I mean, that's no disrespect to the bands. It's all good stuff, but it just hit home how there's so many bands, and it's so similar that in the background thing, I just thought it was like an album. Yeah, and I was thinking, wow, and that's when the cogs start to think, God, we've really got to at least try and change some aspects, and how we're going to be heard. And that's when I had that little idea. I just thought, oh, do you know what? I'm going to download a couple of instrumentals, Holy Wars instrumental, Master of Puppets, a few things like that. And I'm going to just pretend I'm at that pub, the DJ's playing them, and I'm going to try some stuff with it. So I started doing that, and it just it just felt right. It was a similar BPM. It's quite I was quite happy on, all those sorts of tempos, and I was like, actually, this can sound pretty good. Well, I thought that anyway. So I go and try and explain to the guys. I'm like, I've got this idea. Let's just rebrand new name. Someone had left and they weren't coming back, but we had three of the original guys there, the drummer, our singer who was singing in the last band, not the one that I wasn't keen on, but a new one we got in, James. He switched to bass, and Dio, our guitarist, he wasn't happy with being a lead guitarist, so but he said, oh, I'll join if I can be rhythm. And I said, well, that's fine, because I used to play rhythm, but I'm going to sing now. So we needed a lead guitarist. Obviously that came later, but at that point, of course, they're all sitting there, they just couldn't understand what I was going on about, what I'm trying to explain. I'm sitting there saying, I'm going to sort of do some fast rapping stuff, thrash. And it was like, what, you? I was like, yeah, I haven't done it for 10 years, or, well, apart from the little tests I was doing, but properly. So, but I thought, I'll give it a go. But they couldn't picture it. So I knew I was gonna...
dude, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly how you feel. I've said to the band, right, let's do this. And it's like, are you sure? And I'm like, well, if I'm the one saying that I'm prepared to give it a go, that I'm prepared to do this, or then I just need you to back me so we can
exactly
do it. And also, but also I think there's that, like, your bandmates are worried it's going to be embarrassing for them, not you, for them. All they're seeing it from their point of view, and they're worried it's going to be embarrassing. They can't look you in the eye, and it's a terrible idea. And but as we always say, it doesn't matter who it is, singer, bass player, whatever. If somebody's got a vision in the band for something, then your job, whoever you are, if you're the singer, whatever, your job is to help that person realize that vision. If you are lucky enough to be in a band with somebody who has a vision, we've all been in bands where, fucking hell, they write great songs, but like, none of them can open an envelope. It's just, do you know what I mean? It's like, you wouldn't trust them to flush a toilet. And so if somebody says, look, I've got this idea, where you just go, yeah, all right. Look at Maiden, perfect example. The tours they do. Like, you'll see Steve Harris interviewed and he'll go, well, this is very much a Bruce tour. He came up with the concept, blah, blah, blah. And then another tour down the line, it'll be, this was Steve's idea. Yeah. If someone's got a fucking idea, facilitate it and try and help them realize it. And at some point you might end up with something. So I think so I know exactly where you're coming from, and it's cool that everybody kind of went, all right then.
Well, as I say, I think they were, everyone was very on the fence. So I knew I couldn't really explain it as to try and really get their head around it. So I thought, I've got to record something. So I put together a little demo of a song with a guy I was recording the vocals with. He did the bass for me. He did to program some drums and that, just so I could get together. I think we called it was called Sicker Than Your Average or something. It was a little thing. We put it out and I said, this is what I'm talking about. And it was, I think James bassist, he was kind of like, actually, I don't mind it, actually, it works. I'm sort of down for that. Again, Dio, he was like, well, if I can play rhythm guitar, I'm there. I'm fine with that, because he likes rap. He liked rap anyway. So he was like, oh, this is cool. And then, but Isaac drummer, he was on the fence. He was the sort of staunch thrash guy. He was like, well, like, not really for me. Like, I respect what you're doing, but so, but I know, because I know him being, he's quite, well, I think Machine Head's probably his favorite band. So I thought, well, there are some rap in, like, parts in Machine Head stuff. So like, if I could, a few more tracks might just be able to sway him. And eventually he would come round. I think he was gunning for Gatekeepers. He said, oh yeah, there's something about that track, I just wanted to play drums on it, and then he went from there. Now he loves it. Well, I say he loves it, but I assume he loves it, but no, and that's pretty much how it came about. And it was the four of us, and then we just needed the lead guy. But and then obviously we had known Simon so we played with the Hellgrind, the other band that he's in, a few times, and I know him and Paula, their bassist, and I messaged him and just said, oh, if I send you a track, and this was First Strike, do you think you could just do a few leads, see how you get on, see what you think? He's like, yeah, he's up for that. That was in the morning. Afternoon, he sent me back First Strike, pretty much how you hear those leads there, and we were all like, wow, okay, this is he can play.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And then it was just like, so then we had to get him on board, and he was down for it, and he's just been, he's been brilliant. Just obviously we, as you do in that situation, you know, we had never had a lead guitarist who could really play like that before.
Yeah.
So to us, it was like, wow, we need to let this guy loose, which probably, I think on the album, he's quite prominent. We probably overdid it a bit in some minutes, maybe, but
there's a lot of guitarists who are going to listen to the album and really love it.
yeah, there's yeah. But yeah, and that was pretty much it. And obviously that's when that first Strike demo got set up, that was when I was like, that was the first song I thought, oh, this, you know, this is kind of sounding, yeah, it's very traditionally thrash, and I wasn't particularly happy with the vocals, but it was a kind at the time, but it was a better description than the other song of like, oh, this is where we want to go. So that's when I sent it to you. I thought, oh. And that was purely because I'd seen as well, I'd recently watched an Acid Rain thing you were doing. One of those chat with H things that you were doing on the Acid
in lockdown
Rain page. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure there was one point you mentioned a few rapping things. I don't know if you were talking about, I think you might have mentioned The Streets, actually, an old UK thing that used to do stuff like that. And I was thinking, oh, maybe he will get what I'm trying to do here. So that was kind of why I sent it
right.
to see.
Excellent. I mean, and well, let's go down that route, because I think there is a certain amount of that kind of how can I say, the streets kind of vibe about what you do, but obviously in a metal environment. He's also a bit more of a storyteller, you know. He's a real kind of like, you know, Mick Skinner is more sort of inspired by
he's very
Ian Dury than he is by
you
know, than the great rappers like Chuck D or someone like that.
I mean, it's not. It's even not as much about the rhyming with him. It's just more
Yes.
about, like you say, the getting these sentences and words out, and like it's a story. But
yeah. Although
exactly
some of his rhyming couplets and some of the wordplay, I absolutely fucking love.
Yeah,
I really do. One of
good.
the favorite lines is when somebody goes to pick up his gear and he's like, "That ain't a bag, it's a shipment." Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, that is one awesome line. But well, funnily enough, we're just going to go off on a Streets tangent for a second. The very first song I heard of the Streets which is called "Let's Push Things Forward." It's a single.
Right, yeah.
And who's on it? Kano is on it, because Kano got his big break through Mick Skinner. And in that song, it's kind of barely rap. It's got a little bit of a beat. It's got trumpet, and the chorus. The lyrics to the chorus are, "You complain that everything sounds the same, then you go buy them." And it's just like, you know, and the message is, let's push things forward. And I was like, man, that is fucking singing my song. And that's, do you know what I mean? It's almost like it's always stayed in my head, because it was literally like an advert to me. I saw that song, I was like, well, I've got to get this guy's album, because he's basically saying, you know, talking about what I've been preaching all my life, which is, push it, you know, push the envelope, break through the barriers, change things, do something, offer something different.
Yes, you I mean, you have to. I mean, I've got, as I said, I've kind of, especially with thrash, it's one of those genres now where I'm friends with a lot of thrash bands, and I like what they do and I appreciate what they do, but I just don't tend to listen to it in a way as much as I used to, because I just know what it's going to be, and it's just like I struggle sometimes. I mean, it's like the recent talking Bollocks one you did with Old Head, and you were talking about how people will come up and they'll say to you, "You're going to love this, you're going to love this,"
yes,
but not necessarily yes, I might, just because I like that sort of thing, doesn't mean I'm going to love this particular sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's how it seems to be a lot of, with a lot of the thrash and that at the moment for me. I have certain bits I like, but for me, it can never really, I'm never going to get that same feeling from it in some ways that when I first got into it with those first bands. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
it's
mean,
just not there.
that's,
There
yeah,
could be a band with a masterpiece thrash album, right? They could put out a masterpiece now, like whatever, but it's still not going to hit home in the same way because it's still already been done.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? That it's still,
yeah.
so you've lost that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, music is a drug, and you need to, you know, to get that hit that you got the first time. You need to, you know, you need to up the dosage, and you can't do it with music because, like, you know, more doesn't equal better.
Exactly.
So yeah, you never, and that's, you know, look, that's why in comment threads, oh, Metallica dead since the first 4 albums and blah blah, or first 3 albums, or for some people dead since No Life Till Leather,
Yeah.
depending on how much of a fucking gatekeeper you want to be, or a metal
Yeah.
elitist. But that's why people talk like that. It's because I got into Metallica on, you know, Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of
Mm.
Puppets, and Justice for All. Oh, it's just starting to change a bit, and I'm not sure about the
Yeah.
production. Black Album, oh, big time rock and roll band, not interested anymore. First 4 albums, they're dead. Other people. And Justice for All, too much. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but they, and you're now in your 50s, you know, saying, oh, it's all fucking rubbish since Unjustice for All. And it's like, no, you're fucking rubbish since Unjustice for All.
It's
It's
that's
not,
the thing.
you
It's,
know,
yeah.
yeah, that's it.
You,
It's like, you're older. That's, so are they.
it's never going to be the same. And it's kind of, that's, I always used to think that was one of the problems with thrash, is that it never evolved, and it didn't seem to evolve and move at the
Yeah.
times when it should have done. And that's why a lot of bands just, you know, it came to, I know it's had a bit of a resurgence again, but it, again, still everyone's, you know, all the new wave and this and that. It's just the new wave trying to be the 80s again. And I mean, I really, I've got nothing obviously against the era. That was a brilliant era. It's, you know, so much good music was coming out in that era. But I have to sort of, like I said to the guys in the band, it's like, we've got to think, it's 2022, it's 2023 next year. Why can't we make this a new era that people be talking about in the future, rather than stop looking back at the 80s going, oh, let's bring back that time. Let's bring back, I don't want to bring back that time, because that time's had its time.
Yeah.
Those bands had their time, and you know, there's which ones are still going, that's great, they're still doing their thing, but we've got to look at trying to bring in a few new elements and trying to, you know, trying to push things in a new direction, and that's all we can do. I mean, there's plenty of bands. If you're a metal fan and, you know, you want to listen to classic thrash, there's plenty of new bands out there still doing it. We don't
Yeah.
need another one. That was my whole idea of Tempashot. We don't need another one doing exactly that.
Totally agree. And you know, it's ultimately, you know, great times, but when the thrash scene died, you know, it did die, you know, or went into a coma, as I always say. It's you know, it wasn't killed by grunge or death metal or rap or anything that people claim it was killed by. You know, to turn the gun on itself, turned the gun on itself, and simply because it just stopped evolving, stopped creating, and the minute that it just stagnated, and, you know, you either move forward or you die, evolve or die. If you don't,
Yeah,
you know, if you
exactly
stand
that.
still, you're going backwards. And we got to a point where, and you know, I hate to do this, but for me, that kind of, like, the moment where it went, this is all starting to sound like a box ticking exercise, was unfortunately Practice What You Preach by Testament. Now, I know, again, for some people, that's their favorite Testament album, and that one. But for somebody who was right there at the very beginning and coming through, I heard that album and I was like, right, the production sounds like a box ticking exercise. We've got the box ticking ballad on there. We've got the song about the planet, yeah, because everybody was doing one, including us, absolutely. So yeah, all of a sudden I was just like, Right, okay. This is starting to look like a blueprint. This is starting to look like, yeah. And from there, it was like, and then, you know, Anthrax bring an album out and Joe Belladonna's not on it anymore. And it's like, oh my God, what's happening? What's happening? Everything's going wrong. You know?
Big changes.
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely. But that's, you know, that's what happened. Thrash got lazy, in my humble opinion. Bands got lazy, and you know, you see by how many thrash bands started massively reducing their output because they were getting day jobs, tells you that yes, the thrash did go away for a very long time. It's back now, and it's great. But all of the big thrash bands are all still the bands who were the big thrash bands.
Yeah,
back when we all started.
Dominating, yeah.
But you know, and also you've mentioned them already, you know, and a big shout out to Machine Head. I don't think Machine Head get enough credit.
No.
I think they were the first band to go, oh, it's okay to be a thrash band again. You know,
Burn My Eyes was fantastic.
Oh,
but you don't like the Blackening, do you? You're not as keen on the Blackening.
I'm not a fan of the Blackening at all.
See, that was my first Machine Head album I heard.
Well, there you go. There you go. I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, it's your baby. It's your baby. There's nothing I can say about the album. You're like, yeah, you're deep in. That's, you know, that's what it is.
But they were never a band that I was a huge fan of. I had I had the first album. I had the Blackening, and I had another one. It might have been the one before the Blackening. Can't remember the name now, but they are a band now I've started to look at a bit more.
Yeah.
I've just recently was going through the Bloodstone Diamond, is it?
Great album. Great album.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, and it's purely by chance because a song came up on a playlist. Oh, what's this? What's this from? What Machine Head album is this from? I don't know. And then, of course, I find out, and then, I'm going to listen to this album now. And yeah, I've been enjoying it. So obviously, I appreciate now, because obviously now it's weird for me now, just trying to fit into the idea of being a vocalist, and you just have to suddenly start realizing things, especially with the lyric process. When I was sitting there thinking, I've got, in a way, be careful what I say, because even though it might not be the views of the other people in the band, a lot of people will take what you say as the views of the whole band and stuff like that. You just got to think, well, I've got to be a bit careful. So
yeah. No,
and all the challenges. Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was saying all the challenges that come with that I suddenly have to think about, because I'm so used to being a guitarist, and you know, like, I've got to start now thinking about, you know, what I'm going to do on stage, and how to interact with people and settle into that, and what to say during the breaks and pauses and all this and that, and just try and think of that. I suppose think back a bit on what, because obviously back in the day when I was doing it in pubs and everything, they would get quite busy. There'd be a lot of people there, and it always felt very at ease there. So I know I can do it, and I've been in that situation. It's just, I think it's because I know it's a metal crowd, and you're still kind of a little bit on the edge, because we're still not sure how the full people have been. Don't get me wrong, people have been good, and we've had a lot of good comments of people saying, oh, you know, it's nice to hear something fresh, and you know, I don't mind the vocal, it's doing something different. Obviously some people don't want to hear it, they want their screams and
absolutely.
But you know, as I say to people, I said, well, if we did that, we'd be like everyone else. We've got to try and build this new direction and go where we want to go. So
yeah, I guess that's the thing as well, is that you know, yes, and then we just be like everybody else, but also it's like you have this sort of unique aspect to the band. It'd be crazy not to push that. And also, like, you know, there's plenty of reasons to like a band and to not like a band, and you have no control over what people will like and what people won't like. So you know, the minute you realize that and you embrace that, just crack on. I mean, because I spent 20 years, well, and I still am, but because I've spent over 20 years in comedy, where literally you learn, step one is If you think it's funny, then do it. There is no market research. There is no people you can ask and get a definitive that's funny. That you have to just get on with it and put it out there, and then react to it. And it's the same with all art. You just have to go, I'm fucking doing this. And if I do this as to the best of my ability, and this is half decent, then I know there's at least some more people out there who are like me that will like it as well. And that's it. And you can work really hard on something and 10 people like it, or 10,000 people can like it. You've got no say over what they like about it or how it happens.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose it's that case, isn't it? It's like, if you believe, if you've got to make sure you believe what you're doing, and because if you don't believe it, no one else is going to believe it. So you've got to be, and that's the way I kind of thought. It was kind of like, well, I think this sounds good. I think we could do something here. So and that's it. You can't sit there and be, because it's been too long on the fence about these things. I suppose who cares? Music's subjective. People. You're never going to please everybody, so it doesn't matter. You just do. Have
you had any people sort of angry with you? And what I mean, like, what are you doing? What are you doing to metal?
Yeah.
What the fuck
we
this?
did. We did at the start. Oh yeah, that was funny, because I mean, that's how the whole Gunning for Gatekeeper song came about, because it was. I remember doing the first. I put it up, the first song, the test one I did, just for interest, really, just gauging it. I put it around YouTube and posting in a lot of Facebook groups, and there was a lot of hate. It was kind of like, you're not Mel, you're not thrash, you're why you what the hell, and you're ruining it. It doesn't need this rap and thrash to go together. You can't, all that sort of stuff, and all those sort of things, and it just kind of made me laugh. So, well, if you don't like it, fair enough. I mean, I have no problem with people who don't like it. If you generally don't like it, that's fair enough. And some people they're cool about it, and they'll comment stuff, and they'll say, well, I appreciate what you're doing, nice effort, but it's not my thing. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. But it's the people who just come on and sit there and just, they haven't even listened to it. They listen to a few sets and they go, no, it's just complete shit. And you think, well,
yeah, it does. It's like, there's a difference between something being complete shit and not liking something. I can listen to something and go, do you know what? There's merits to that. It's slick. It's really well done. The songs, but I fucking hate it. Yeah, but I can see the worth in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you appreciate that those people have had to learn things and have to be able to do it anyway.
If it's a high look, Muse, fuck off. Every day of the week, fuck off. Never get up, stay in bed, fuck off. Right? But you got to admire it. You got to, like, every single person you ever meet, if you say the word Muse, they go, oh, amazing live band. It's like, great, they can play arenas, they got some balloons, wonderful. But I
do actually like one of their songs, actually.
Well, there you go. But you know what I mean? It's kind of like, but you have to go, I respect that. And because I use the same argument with people who don't like Rammstein. And I'm like, look, you can think it's absolute fucking worthless Nazi metal, right? You can hate it. You can hate the imagery and everything. But what you cannot fuck with is the fact that they'll announce a gig anywhere on the planet in a field and it's sold out by the time they've fucking built the stage.
And singing in a language that half the people can't even understand.
Hello, talk about lack of compromise. Talk about have them come to you, you don't go to them. I mean, bloody hell. Yeah,
I like Rammstein.
So I happen to like Rammstein, but again, they said, nothing is just like, you can't just throw something out, you can't put something in the bin because it's like, oh, it's shit because I don't like that aspect, or it doesn't fit with, like, my ideals, or the pigeonholes that I have. Everything's got some worth in it somewhere, unless it's baby metal, of course. But I mean, it doesn't surprise me that you got, well, obviously, because I've heard Gunning for Gatekeepers, so I was kind of.
I mean, I was prepared for it. I knew.
Anything face to face though.
Started it. No. No,
Yeah,
actually,
what a
no.
surprise. Yeah, what a surprise.
Everyone's always been cool, but it's just
And it's the keyboard
funny
warriors.
though, because it's that's the non thing. It's usually people who are not doing anything themselves. So they're just like, oh, they're doing something. Oh, it's not why. I'm just gonna, just comment and write a load of nasty stuff just for the sake of it. But that's just how it is. That's how the internet is. So the thing is, if you put your music out there, it's out there on a plate for people to dissect, and you've got to be prepared for that. That's how it is.
Absolutely. That's when anybody says you like, oh yeah, there's no egos in our band, and oh no, no one's got an ego. Oh no, no one's got yeah. If you're in a band, you've got a fucking ego. Yeah. You decided that you want to be on stage, looking down on everybody, being the center of attention. That's an ego. We've all, we've all got egos.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to have a bit of an ego. You've got to have a bit to do it, because but it's just how you use it. You get people who can go nuts with it, and it's just, and it can upset some people, but you kind of just got to use it and try and mold it to get the best out of yourself. And
but that's it. You're exactly right. It was your ego, if you like, that was pushing you, going, remember that hype man stuff you were doing? What was that about? Why aren't we doing more of that? Why are we just letting that lie around and not be used? Surely, that's ego.
Yeah. But I think, as I say, I mean, I think I was prepared for it. I knew there was going to be, because you just know. I mean, especially metal fans and thrash fans in particular, they're very particular about what they like and this and that, and it's because it's been the same thing for so long. You upset the apple cart just with a weird change of vocal thing. For some people, it's this is blasphemy. But
yeah,
I think more people now seem to be getting a bit much more open-mindedness in coming in, where they're kind of like, you know what, I can listen to this. It's all right, and it's not the devil. It's this is not a bad thing, and I've still got plenty of other new bands coming through monthly who are playing the 80s stuff that I like as well. So you've got the best of everything out there. So
well, absolutely. And no one band, no iteration of originality it has ever taken a scene down. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's created some horrible ones. Thank you, Fred Durst. But it's there's been some, and don't get me wrong, big Limp Bizkit fan as well. It's just that unfortunately, you have one band pop up and then everybody else who follows them shit. But there's no one band who's going to like take anything down. It's like, look, don't worry about it. If you don't like them, you don't like them. But like, oh, this is what's wrong with blah blah. Insert music scene here. It's just like, no, don't worry about it. It's
it's that whole thing, isn't it? Of but people moan about bands. Oh, they keep putting out the same thing. They keep putting out the same thing. Then they put something different. Oh no, why have you put out something different? Why couldn't you just do what you were doing? And so no one can ever win in a way. It's like this
damned if you do,
circle.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
What I'm interested to see, do you think since you started doing more rapping and pursuing Tempashot, has it changed your listening habits at all to what you listen to?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, it has. I think it's kind of weird, because I mean, obviously I've always appreciated rap music, but I was never a big fan of it. And I must admit, since doing that, I've started to look at a few more, going back a few more different rappers through the years, and this and that, just seeing how their wordplay is, and what, just getting a bit more appreciation for that. Because obviously, being a big metal fan, always been a big metal fan, I was very, especially as a young age, I was quite biased. Maybe I was a bit of a gatekeeper. Maybe I think I might.
Dude, without a doubt, I was, for sure. Like, how much is your demo? £3, 52p, 50p too much. You fucking sellouts.
Oh dear. Yeah, but I mean, just that sort of aspect of, like, you look at other genres of music sometimes with them. It's not metal. It's not metal. You should be listening to this. And so I've been through that. So I missed a lot of obviously now I appreciate so much music. I can listen to as you know, all sorts of stuff, and I can appreciate. I might not like it, but I start appreciating and listening and picking up on a few more different things. And obviously doing this now, yeah, I have been looking back. Obviously you're obvious people like Eminem, looking at some of his back catalogue and really delving into that a bit and think, oh yeah, actually, yeah, he's a talented chap. That man. He's very
mate,
good with his wordplay.
I tell you what, if you ever want to see how good he is, then all you need to do is go on YouTube and look up Eminem album release days. So like the day so and so album or the day so and so single dropped, and watch all of the black rappers hanging on every word Eminem says, watching the video, doing reaction videos, stopping it and going, right, okay, so what he's done here is da 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 da, and seeing them just jumping up and down, going, oh my god,
yeah.
And like they go back and they'll unpick the words, and we're talking like incredible rhyming couplets, but not only do they rhyme, but they have a reason within them, and they work backwards and
double
forwards.
meanings and stuff. And you
double
listen
meaning,
to
triple meaning. Yeah. It's just ridiculous.
See, I love that stuff, because I look through and I sit there and it blows, makes you think, how the hell did he come up with that one? Like, and you're listening, and I can see why people like that sort of thing, because I mean, he knows what he's doing. He knows people are going to look for this stuff, doesn't he? I mean, he puts in all this stuff in, and there's some certain bits there. It's always a good feeling when you catch something, you think, oh yeah, actually I get that reference, I get this, I get that, and then so yeah, I have been looking at that, and I appreciate, you know, all that. I mean, I sat there and thought about trying to put some of that stuff in armies. I sat there and thought, well, are the metal community the type of people who are really going to be looking for that stuff? You know, there could be stuff which is something I thought of, and I thought, how deep can I go really lyrically that people are actually going to know? People are going to notice.
Right. Well, dude. Personally, I would say, how deep can you go? Find out. Yeah, just keep digging. You know, and you'll either hit a rock or you'll come out the other side. You know, just always. And again, I'm like, I started out writing lyrics, then I went to comedy and still doing that, and back writing lyrics again. And it's that inner monologue of, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, and people can either get on board or not, but this is happening. So you know, and no matter what you do, there will be people who connect to it. And also there'll be people who connect to your lyrics that go a bit deeper, that might be slightly more abstract or whatever. And they'll come up to you and they'll tell you all about the lyrics, how much it meant to them. And you can go, wow, right, okay, cool. I mean, they're completely wrong, but because
that's the weird thing. Because
they think it's about something else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, people have. I think I did kind of try to approach at least a few of the songs, definitely. I kind of had like a set idea, but now I thought I'm not going to mention it. I'm going to try and keep it open a little bit. I think that was particularly like I think the first song on the album. It looks and sounds like it's about a certain thing, but it's actually potentially wrote in the way of three things. It could be you know, mental health. It could be it, and that's kind of how I try to approach a few of the songs, because it's nice for people to be able to put their own spin on things and have their own, you know.
Absolutely. And also there's much more room in writing about themes and, you know, topics and rather than specifics. You know what I mean? That's why I think, you know, writing about politics is very limiting, because you're writing, if you're writing about politics in general, you've got to get to a point where you've got something to say that hasn't been said a million times before. You know, all politicians are corrupt. Ooh, what amazing insight. You know, but if you know, you're looking at a grander theme, like, for instance, morally or mental health, particular things. There's a song, you can write a song. I wrote a song once about being hungover, and it's that simple, but no one realizes it, and everybody thinks it's about something different. That's great. That's what that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was hard. It was definitely. I think that's where I struggled. Like, if you could see the album in the order of how the songs were written, you'd see the change and improvement, if that makes sense. If I was
no,
to lay out
absolutely,
the album,
there's basically there's a track listing that you could do for the album that would be like, right, this is me starting, and this is like me at my best. Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that I actually think might talk to you. You might have mentioned this to me as well, and it was when I first started, because I've got that worry, not so much a worry, but because I've got that that conscious thought in my head of how metal people are going to take to this. I'm coming into the project thinking I've got to sing about the typical metal stuff. I've got to talk about I mean, a few of the songs on there are very metal topics, the sort of thing that you would expect. There's something witchcraft and hunting witches and all that. But it was only as I was going along, it was starting to, I think I remember talking to you about it. We had a conversation. It was like, I've got to be a bit more of yourself, put yourself out there and start talking about different things.
Yeah.
Just I don't need to be singing about executions and this and that just because to try and be metal to fit in. I don't need to do that.
And but the thing is as well is that it's the same in music as it is in comedy, which is there's way more topics, way more material to be garnered by looking inwards than there is by looking outwards, because outwards just gets like, oh, that's wrong, that's shit, don't like that, oh, I like that, I'm up for, and it only goes on for so long before you go, this is all surface. Do you know what I mean? It's like I always say about movies. It's like you have three characters going on the most amazing journey ever. If you don't care about those three characters, journey's fucking irrelevant.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No,
you've got it.
There's way more, because the minute you start writing about internals and the way you feel or think about things, the minute you do that, other people listen and go, totally agree, or totally disagree, but I know people like that who would agree with him. Do you know what that's how you get into people's heads, is that
you become more relatable. People can relate a bit more to
absolutely. You have to
go
deep first. You have to go deep first. They'll come with you, but you got to go that place first.
Yeah, no, that was kind of became my sort of view of thinking. Interesting enough, I think the most bizarre one there's a track on there called Horror Shot, and I was reading, so I'm quite, not as much now, but I'm quite a big fan of Mike Patton's early stuff. I'm not saying now when he's doing all these screamings and noises, that kind of annoys me. But when he was really,
well, it does, doesn't it? Because when you love the guy's voice and you just hear him doing pig squeals, it's like, look, I can do that. Can you please do the stuff that you can do that the rest of us can't, please?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you see him live, and I've been expecting certain songs, I expect him to sing it a bit more like it was, rather than doing so many noises and over the top random stuff. But that's kind of what he does now a lot. But obviously, and there was an interview I was reading, and he was saying, I can't remember what song it was. It might have been Caffeine, and he was recording. He was going to a coffee shop or something, and a lot of the lyrics were things he was overheard, and he just was jotting them down and putting them in the song.
Yeah,
I thought, really even work? Can you do that? And so I actually tried that out, and on my train journeys here and there, I was kind of occasionally listening.
Yeah.
Never picked up anything. And then one time I'd come back from Ramsgate. There's a few seats behind me, and um, they're kind of having a little panicked argument. Her mother's coming round to visit for the first time, right?
Yeah.
So she's panicking. Oh, we've got to get in this. We've got to buy this for her. We're really going on panicking. And the husband turns around and goes, well, we'll have to roll out the blue carpet because we can't afford to buy a red one. Not yet, anyway. And I jotted that down because I just thought that was so random. And that was in song. And that was the first line. And that was, I think it's on the end verse, but it just made no sense, but it's in there. And it's just kind of, and the whole song was kind of eventually sort of built around that, and a few other little odd quotes that I picked up. There was some women are bickering once about with the COVID thing, going to work, getting sick, but she was saying, well, we have to do it for shoe fits, you know, you have to, and all those little bits I was just putting in a couple of verses, and and the song kind of molded around that. It was kind of a weird sort of bits of everything about work, moaning about going to work and the struggles with that, and then the corruption in the things and all. So that became a weird song, but it was one of the most enjoyable ones, just through those reasons. So
yeah, but that again, you've just highlighted the similarities. I don't know why this keeps coming up. Well, I do, because I keep dragging it up, but it's the similarities of comedy and music, because a lot of comedy you pick up where you hear a bit of a conversation, and it goes round in your head, and you come up with, so you hear what you think is a setup, and you come up with a punchline in your head, or you hear a punchline, you come up with a setup in your head, and it's like, yeah, you know, you find jokes, you don't write them, and you find songs, you find lyrics, they're all lying around, they're all out there, you just got to find them. And
I mean, you could go sit, I mean, you could go sit in a restaurant, and you're bound to there's bound to be someone sitting around having an eye doing this that you personally find funny. You think, oh, that's actually quite jokey there, I could use that in something. And it's you stop and listen to people, what's going on around you, you hear some crazy stuff.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm always writing stuff down when I'm watching movies, because there'll be, you know, these are the occasional line of genius will come in there where you're just like, wow, you know, because these are script writers, they write for a living. So there's gold lying everywhere. Occasionally one will just jump out and you go, fucking hell. And actually, I don't know if I've told this on the podcast before, and I'll tell it very quickly. True story. We put out The Man Who Became Himself, which was our second single. And the reason it's called The Man Who Became Himself is that in a movie called The Lobster, when people arrive at this hotel, they have to write poems. And this bloke wrote a poem, and they get his poem, and they said, oh, we read your poem. Noticed it didn't have a title, so we've decided to call it The Man Who Became Himself. And he's like, oh, right. And I thought, that's fucking brilliant, that's awesome. I just that is a line. I wrote it down.
Yeah, that's a good title.
I wrote it down. I was like, yeah, great, wonderful, brilliant. Okay. Pete and Paul at the time in the band searched Google, searched scripts, movie dialogue, and the phrase "The Man Who Became Himself" does not exist in any movies. If you search the term, the only thing you can come up with is a single by Acid Reign. So either
that's a great line, though, isn't it?
Either that scene is buried somewhere, or it's on some extras somewhere, or I've had a fucking dream. You know, you never know where this shit's gonna fall. You know, as long as you got your eyes open. You know.
Yeah, that's the thing. You just hear there's certain things that I said on those journeys. I don't know why, but there's certain lines that they said, and that's just really random. I'm just I'll write that on my phone, my little note page, which I do, and it just went into the song, and then everything else is like, how can I work stuff around that? And then you just that was one of the most fun songs to write, lyric wise.
And the thing is, as well, is sometimes it works if you mishear stuff as well. Because you could mishear stuff and think, oh no, they didn't say that. But hang on, what's that? Oh, I might have invented a word. I might have invented a word here. Yeah. yeah, exactly. It can take you off in any direction. But that's, it's obviously the fact that you're kind of like, you know, you're listening to other rappers and stuff like that, and you're kind of, you're still well, we're all still working on our craft, but I would imagine, you know, a good sort of 2 or 3 years in now, and how are you feeling about your actual, you know, performance and your craft? Are you feeling more confident? You know, are you growing into it?
Yeah, definitely more now, because obviously I think I've already learned just from doing this album, like what I'm more comfortable doing, and what, you know, where I sort of that little sweet spot. But I'm also you start seeing the other aspects where you just think, well, I want to try doing a bit more of this and a bit more of that. I mean, I'd like to not necessarily really sing, but I'd like to get a bit more melody in some places in how I deliver lines. And again, with wordplay, it would be nice to try and just get a few more double meaning things in there, little things that people can find, so there's a bit more depth on a few more listens. You're thinking, oh, you know, you can pick out certain things as well.
Yeah.
So, but in terms of confidence, yeah, I think the only thing is more me learning now is well, which you learn from rehearsals. It's just gauging that whole aspect of controlling the energy, because obviously you naturally want to jump around. But you can't do that when you're trying to barrel out loads of it, because you're just so out of breath.
Yes.
And it's just trying to get those. I mean, I noticed that when we play, you know, when we played with you guys, and it hit me at first, because as soon as we started, even though I've allowed for this, but they were playing the songs a lot faster than what we were at rehearsal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm straight away into a panic of, oh, I'm going to have to really go now. But I want to be showing energy as well and do stuff. And so it was a bit of a battle. And I did that first show there was it was good, because I came off there thinking, okay, I know where I've gone wrong there, and I know what, you know, what I must change in future. And of course, then you so through rehearsals you practice that out. I'm getting used to knowing when I need to stay still, when I need to take breaths here, I need to take breaths here.
Yeah.
But of course, the lyrics have been designed for that as well.
Yeah.
With James, the other singer, there's always a line at the end when you're writing the fast parts. You always make sure there's a line at the end that kind of is like your setup, where I know he'll back, where he backs on the album, he'll back and sing, and live he can back, and that just gives me my breath.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've got
Absolutely, mate. Yeah.
Part, you come in, you do that bit, and then off again. Because otherwise,
absolutely, and I do exactly the same. I always cheat using backing vocals. Like, it's like, okay, should be vocal there. You guys do it as a backing vocal. It's only a G, but that gives me a breath.
Yeah.
That gives me an opportunity to, you know, to just regas and go again. But yeah, and I absolutely get it, and I honestly really admire what you're doing. Really admire what you're doing, Luke. It's been a really cool journey so far. Just tell everybody about the album, what it's called, you know, when it's going to be available, what label, etc.
Yeah. So, Tempashot Certified Dangerous is the name of the album, and it will be available January the 27th through Devil's Claws Records. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be digital launch with just the 9 tracks. But if you get the CD, you get the extra bonus track. Only available on the CD.
Cool. So, well, look, well done on the album. Congratulations on the album. I'm sure we're going to play gigs together again in the future, mate. And now let's have a proper conversation off air where we slag everybody off. But seriously, Luke, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure, and I've been meaning to have you on here for ages. Mate. And in case people haven't heard yet, Luke is going to be on the next episode of Old Bollocks with myself and Old Head, chatting about the album in more depth. So once again, thanks, mate.
Excellent. Cheers, mate. Thank you.